Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm going to talk to you about time management because let's face it, if you don't have good time management or you don't have some plans in place, this training is going to be very difficult for you. So we decided that time management was number one on the list, and so that's what I'm going to go over with you today. So first thing I want to share with you is that these videos every day are going to be 15 to 20 minutes long. And I promise you that because I have my handy dandy little timer right here and I've just started it. So with that being said, I wanted to share with you as well that I use my timer on my phone very often. I'm not good at time management, so it's important that I use this timer so that I am focused in on my time. And that way I don't have any distractions like Facebook open or anything like that while I'm working. So this has been a lifesaver for me, and I urge you to do the same. You can use your phone, you can use a kitchen timer, whichever you'd prefer, but I think most of us have a timer on our phones, which makes it super easy. And I'm all about hitting the easy button. So first things first, I wanted to share with you that when we become leaders, one of the hardest things is transitioning into how much time we spend on our personal business and how much time we spend on our teams. Oftentimes we get really excited about our teammates and what they're doing, so we start to focus all our energy on them, and we spend very little time on our personal business. So it's kind of finding that balance, right? So most coaches will share with you that you should be spending 60% of your time on your personal business and 40% of your time on your team's business or on your team, whether that be answering questions or training or coaching, any of those things. But the really important part is that you are seeing in that percentage, the 60-40, that you're spending a good chunk of time on your personal business. And at the end of the day, your personal business is very important. Your team is going to mirror what you do. So if that scale starts to switch a little bit and you are starting to spend 20 or 30% of your time on your personal business, your team is going to see that and they're going to mirror that. So if your business is not doing well, then your team, you may start to notice, may not be doing well. So when you're thinking about how you're spending your time, I want you to keep in mind that 60-40 rule, okay? Also, time management is all about prioritizing. People think that with a team of 1,000, I spend all my time on lemongrass, and I really don't. I absolutely love lemongrass, so I do spend a lot of time on it because it's my choice and I choose to. But if I didn't have the time to do it, I wouldn't spend as much time. I don't need to spend that much time on my business. I really don't. And so many trainers will share with you that if you are finding that you're having trouble finding time for your business, that you're probably not prioritizing and managing your time well. A lot of top leaders will spend very little time on their business because they have things in place like systems, schedules, and those things help them to really pack in the work in a very short amount of time. So I'm not saying, you're as a leader, you should at least be spending, and as a consultant anyways, you should be at least spending an hour of your time each day on your business, working your business. And the important thing is that for a lot of time for me, checking my time here, oftentimes for myself when I was first starting, and especially when I was a leader, I felt like I was just spinning my wheels, just trying to get as much stuff done, and I could never at the end of the day get a lot of stuff done. But what I was doing when I looked at my schedule, I found that a lot of my time was spent just browsing Facebook. I mean, it can suck us in, and we're browsing news feeds for 20 minutes after, we're like, oh, we just want to check real quick. And then 20 minutes later, we're still on it. Or sometimes, I would call a team member to check in, and our conversation would be an hour long, and it was supposed to just be a coaching call, but we're talking about family stuff or, what we're up to or how our day's going, things like that. And That's not prioritizing time. So what we're going to do this week is really focus, well, actually for the next 2 weeks, I want you to be conscious of how you're spending your time and being intentional about how you're spending your time. So prioritizing that time and making sure that you have, just pulling up an app on my phone that I use to share with you, making sure that you have everything listed out as your to-do list for the week. Becky Spieth, one of my favorite trainers, calls it a ta-da list because when she crosses something off, she says, ta-da, it's done. So that's kind of cute too. You can do that. But as far as prioritizing, I want you to choose a day of the week, whether it be Sunday nights, whether it be Monday mornings, whatever time, whatever day you want it to be. I want you to select one day where you're going to sit down and you are going to make a list of the things that you need to do for that week. And the first time you do this is going to be a little bit lengthier because the first time you do this, I want you to write down everything you need to do, whether it's this week, this month, this year, whatever it is, okay? So that might take a little bit longer. And then personally for me, what I do is I use this app on my phone. It's just the Reminders app. I don't know that you guys can see it, but on this app, maybe you can't see it. On this app, what I do is I type in everything that I need to do. If I'm out shopping and I remember something I need to do, or maybe a customer asks me for a sample, I simply open that app and I type it in my phone, send so-and-so sample. So I add to my to-do list. And the important part, the important step 2 of that is to prioritize it. So now I have this list of things that I need to do, whether it's creating hostess packets, creating events on Facebook, reaching out to this team member, whatever it is, I have it all written down. And then I go back through and I prioritize them. So which is the most important? Which is the most time-sensitive thing that I need to get done? From there, maybe what is something that I need to complete by the end of the week? Make sure that goes in my weekly to start, okay? If I know I have to do something next month, I'm going to add that to my, add that to my calendar for next month. And what I have in my planner is on the right and left sides, I have a list area where I can jot things down of things that I need to do that month so I don't forget. Like, for example, if a hostess says, I don't want to host this month, but I want to host closer to the holidays, so I'll write her name in and say she wants to reach out to Lisa to host. Sure. This is part of my time management. My kiddos interrupting me sometimes. So make sure that it's somewhere you have that list. And I have to admit, guys, I have heard this from so many coaches, and it took me a very long time to actually do it. I was like, no, I don't need to make a list. I'm good. I just know what I'm doing. And I didn't. I was spending a lot of time doing things that I thought were helping my business, and in reality, it wasn't helping my business at all. So that being said, I also want you to take a look at how you're spending your time over the next 2 weeks. So writing down the time that you have. Maybe you have, like for me, when I worked full time, I had half an hour for lunch. So during my lunch break, how am I spending that time? Keep record of that. Okay, so if I spent 5 minutes reaching out to customers and then I spent 15 minutes talking to my coworkers, I would write that, I would write that down. I want you to keep a really good tracker as best you can for the next 2 weeks of how you spend your time. And if that changes, if how you spend your time changes over the next 2 weeks because of what you learn in this boot camp, I really want you to write that down too, and just be aware of how your business is changing over the next 2 weeks. We're gonna be done before the 15 minutes is up, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes I'll schedule something out in my calendar to do, and it turns out that I get it done earlier, or faster. And then I select something else that I have like a special list of extra things. And so I have an extra list of things that I can do, short little things that I can do within 15 minutes. And I select something from that list. So maybe it's, I can put together a few Hostess packets that are ready to go for when I need them. And in that case, I'll pull something off my list and I'll do those things. So the other part of this is, I know some of you may have full-time jobs. Some of you, for those full-time jobs, you have a set schedule. And some of you may have a schedule that isn't always set. Like you work so many hours a week, but those hours can change all the time. So because of that, what I suggest to my team members and to any of those of you who have those schedules that are all over the place, you're still going to do the piece about prioritizing and writing that to-do list every week and being very intentional about what you're doing, but you're going to break it down into different types of tasks. So, for example, like this task is 15 minutes. I know this task would take me about half an hour or an hour. You're going to break it down like that, and you're still going to prioritize. So you could have maybe at the top of your list, or you can highlight in different colors to prioritize which ones must be done first. And then when you do have 15 minutes, it's easy for you to select, one item. Okay, this is in pink, so it's high priority and it's 15 minutes. I'm going to do that one right now because I have 15 minutes. So your week, every week, does not have to look the same. It won't look the same. So that's why it's important to have just that running list that you can kind of plug in to your work time. And it is important to have those office hours. My family knows, for example, right now while I'm doing my video, I told my boys, I'm going to be doing this video for 15 minutes, so I need you to find a quiet activity for 15 minutes. And when my timer goes off, mommy will be done. So it's important to communicate with your family what times you're going to be working your business. If you're going to spend 20 minutes after the kids go to bed every night on your business, make sure your family knows that, because it needs to be uninterrupted time. We know through research that our time, if we multitask, we get very little done. If we stay focused on one thing, we're going to get a lot more done. So that's part of the reason why I set my timer. I have, 20 minutes. If I have 20 minutes set out for just getting bookings for that day, if that's my goal for 20 minutes, I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes, and that's all I'm going to do for 20 minutes. And for me, like I said, that timer has been a game changer. That is how I stay focused. That is how I get a lot of things done. If I don't use the timer, I get very little done. So this week, with that being said, I want you to remember the 60-40 rule. I want you to prioritize your time and be very intentional about your time. I want you to create that to-do list with everything that you can think of that you need to do for your business, and then break it down into daily, weekly, monthly to-dos or to-das, whichever you choose. And I want you to track your time and how you're spending it over this 2 weeks that we're going to be doing this training. That's it, guys. That's everything. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to share those with all of us, and stay tuned for tomorrow's training. Bye, everyone.